Special treat for you today at Theories of Everything. I believe that what drives us forward are questions, are processes, that is, rather than fixed answers to be grasped. Now, in that vein, we've gathered unreleased footage from esteemed guests such as Salvatore Pais, Nick Lane, Avi Loeb, Iain McGilchrist, and Tim Maudlin, who are here to answer a question about questions. Specifically, I'm asking, what question is it that they want answered most?
The question that I want answered most is, can we engineer, or rather re-engineer, human nature so that our human civilization can have the possibility for survival? Current world affairs dictate that the possibility of possibly re-engineering human nature is demanded at this point in time. And you don't need me to go into the politics of it, but you know what I'm talking about.
The most important question to me, that's a tough one. Right now, it's the origin of life. And the reason for that is I think we have some hope of answering it. Not that we can create life in a test tube, that's not going to happen. But that we can intellectually understand how a sterile, inorganic planet can give rise to life as we know it. I think we can understand the steps, and we can do experiments in the lab that will tell us whether or not those steps are real. So I would like to think that I can understand. I can't understand the origin of life yet, but that's the most important thing to me now because it's teeteringly so close. But precisely because I think that the answer is achievable, the most important thing down the line for me will be consciousness, because that has been a problem which is much more difficult to grapple with, because we don't know what the currency is. We don't know what the units are. We don't really know. I mean, to my mind, as a biochemist, the question of what physically constitutes a feeling, I would like to think that the answer could well lie in electrical fields. But I admit that this is an extreme form of hand waving at the moment. It's not really coming directly from me, but it's something that I've put together based on other people's thoughts. And it excites me a lot that this might explain why we feel about things the way that we do. So it's nothing to do with processing and information processing and so on. It's much more to do with the biochemistry of feelings. And I do think that mitochondria and electrical fields are going to be profoundly linked to that. And so in the future, I think that will be the most important thing.
The question is whether there is a higher level of intelligence around us. And if so, what can we learn from it? Because maybe it has answers to fundamental questions to which we don't have the answer at the moment. It would feel like looking over the shoulder of a classmate and sort of cheating in the way of learning from a smarter classmate. But if we can save 1 million years in the process, I would rather know the answers.
When you asked me to think about this question, I just couldn't think of any question I particularly wanted to have answered. I couldn't really understand why. I felt completely distant from it all. I didn't sort of feel like, yes, I want to know the answer to this question. And what I worked out was that the more important the question, the less likely it was that there would be an answer that would be in any way understandable or would give me some satisfaction. In fact, it would be narrowing down something that needed to remain in an area of unknowing. If I had an answer to, if I have an answer to some perfectly trivial question, like what time a train leaves, then of course I need to know it. But if the question is about, the biggest things that we face in our lives, I don't want to know the answers, not because I'm afraid of what I might find, but because this thing would somehow diminish the importance of the question, and somehow I would be no longer interested in it. And it made me think of Erwin Chergap, who was this rather important scientist whose discoveries were built on by Crick and Watson in order to come to their discovery of the structure of DNA. And he wrote a wonderful autobiography called Heraclitean Fire about what it means to be a scientist. And I think it's just terrific. But in it, he says that it has been difficult for him to explain to people that it's the things that can't be pinned down and over which there is an inherent uncertainty that are attractive, and that there is some sort of magnetism between him and whatever that is in the nature of the thing. It's not just that, oh, well, it could be answered, and then, of course, I'll lose interest in it. It's that these questions are inherently unanswerable, and that's why they are good questions. So the question is more valuable than any so-called answer could ever be. And that sits very well with me, because I feel that what matters is, in the word question, is that it is the same route as a quest. You are on a journey towards something that you know you will never reach, but the journey is the point of going there. It's not to come back with a prize, which will be a small prize. It's the process of approaching this thing and getting ever closer to knowing it. And that other thing answers your question. And the root of answer, instead of being Latin like question, is in fact a Saxon root. But the last part of the word answer is from the idea of swearing, not in the sense of swearing allegiance. So an act of faith. So there is this coming together of an act of faith on the one side and an act of faith of the cosmos that reaches out to answer it. And it's that relationship, as I'm constantly saying, all that exists is in relationship, and it's always in process. So an answer to me suggests something that is finished, dead, settled, and thing-like. Whereas what I'm saying is the constant questioning is vivifying, is never-ending, and is a process of coming into relationship with something, an encounter with a reality. So I'm sorry to be terrifically disappointing, but that is my answer to your question about what question I want answering.
I guess from what I said before, it would tell me about the mind-body problem, because I'm so at sea about that I really need help, right? I mean, to comprehend what's going on there, I feel like would take me leaps and bounds beyond where I am. In ways that I can't even understand. I mean, of course, you'd like to know what the actual physical situation is like, but I sort of feel like at least I have some clues of what might be the right answer and directions to go in. But I don't feel motivated by my desires here. I'm more motivated by intersection of what interests me and what I think I can make some progress on. And that's a very, very, very small intersection.
By the way, what question do you want answered most? Leave it in the comments below. I or my wife read every single one of them, and I'll also respond to every single comment on this video. By the way, you can sign up for the Theories of Everything newsletter to get my top 10 toes, that is Kurt's top 10 toes, and soon I'll be sharing other tidbits such as quotes from the podcast guests and highlighted insightful community comments, such as yours.